The views and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of KSMQ Public Service Media Incorporated or its assigns.
And welcome to On Cue. I'm your host, Eric Olson. On today's show, we'll be talking about technology connecting our community through the goals of Vision 2020. Then, former Congressman Tim Penny from the Southern Minnesota Initiative Foundation shares his vision for the region and the importance of collaborations with that organization. We'll also find out what it means to paint the town pink with Cheryl Corey and Gail Dennison. Stay tuned for On Cue.
From KSMQ Television in Austin, this is On Cue, connecting interesting issues and interesting people. On Cue.
Austin, Minnesota will be celebrating its third annual Paint the Town Pink this year. While raising awareness and money for a very serious subject, this event is popping with energy and growth. Today we welcome Cheryl Corey from the Austin CVB and Gail Dennison from the Hormel Institute to the program. Welcome. Color coordinated. Did you talk to each other beforehand, or you came from a meeting this morning?
We came from a pink planning meeting, so of course we were wearing our pink.
I've got to tell you that I've never seen an entity or a movement take off in Austin as it has, and not just with business community, but the nonprofits, with the sporting teams, with the Bruins. This is just a wonderful,
it's phenomenal.
Yeah, it's a wonderful community cheer point, and it raises the money. It's great.
It's lots of fun. It's a fundraiser and a fundraiser.
Very good, Cheryl. That's
a good one. And Gail, obviously the funds, that's the serious side of this.
That's right.
Where do the funds go for this?
100%. We're very thankful to say come to the Hormel Institute for specifically breast cancer research and or technologies, instruments that are provided and purchased that support breast cancer research. This started 3 years ago with an idea from the Austin Bruins to paint the rink pink, and Cheryl's group at the Convention and Visitors Bureau board thought this could go community-wide, and last year it was the first annual Paint the Town
Correct.
Pink.
So it's the third annual Paint the Rink Pink and the second annual Paint the Town Pink. So we're really proud of the event as it's growing.
Yes.
And what kind of events, Cheryl, can people take advantage of, get involved?
There's so many things. We are holding a decorating contest this year. There's, of course, the Bruins game on the 2nd. There's the Plunging for Pink event. I know the girls' dance line have gotten involved. We just had Hoops for Hope, and the community is really coming together. This is a partnership, not just of the CVB or the Institute, but the whole community is getting on board, with homes being decorated and businesses and nonprofits to spread the awareness part of it. But then donations are being taken up at some of the sporting events, and some of the stores have donation boxes, and restaurants are offering discounts, and hotels are offering specials, and it's just become a true community event, and we hope to raise a lot of money for the Hormel Institute this year.
You mentioned the basketball, what'd you call it? Hoops for
Hoops
Hope.
for
That's
Hope.
what the t-shirt said at the Austin game. And it was great to see when they were passing the buckets around, the opposing team, which was Rochester, but they were very generous also at the buckets going up and down the visitors' side too, and the students. You know, you mentioned the community being involved. Of course, not all high school students. I don't want to talk about the ones in my home, but a lot of them aren't really connected with things going on in the community. You know, they're got their own lives in high school and so on. But there were all kinds of them wearing the shirts at the basketball game. And you know, when you had said, Gail, well, before we went on, when you know someone who's impacted, it really gets you interested. And there are a lot of folks who know somebody.
And the Hormel Institute, Eric, as you know, is really, the funds could not go to, in our opinion, a better place, because we truly are considered one of the world's best areas of cancer research in terms of identifying what it is that can prevent and control cancer using natural means, using what it is in foods, for example, that could suppress cancer development, or therapies that are less invasive and toxic. So we're looking for how you can live with cancer longer and treat it in a more healthful manner. So that is the work of the Hormel Institute, and we are, continuing to make a name in the cancer research world with the goal of making it true inroads in what can prevent and control cancer.
Cheryl, this is almost becoming a tourism. I mean, it has that feel of a community event that's kind of like a convention or a
Absolutely.
tourism. I don't know how to describe it. But
well, we're really proud of it. This did come out of a CVB board directive. As Gail said, she was part of our board that year when we worked with the Bruins to see if we could partner and sort of create a winter fest to bring more people into town. And last year, our first effort was a 4-day event, and we've gone to 10 days. So there's a number of reasons for people to come to Austin, stay overnight, take part in all of the activities. And as you alluded to, it's become very personal because we all know somebody who's either fought cancer or is fighting cancer.
Right.
what are the statistics in our, do we have by part of the country as far as?
1 in 8 women in the United States will develop breast cancer by the age of 80. It is not the most diagnosed cancer. That would be skin cancer is the most prevalent cancer. Breast cancer is the second most diagnosed cancer for women. It is the second cause of cancer death for women, right behind lung cancer. So it is indeed one of the more serious cancers that affect, the most women. There's many things that can be done that would prevent that breast cancer from developing. That would be, lifestyle related choices that can be made. Obesity, for example. Research has shown that, if you have a healthy weight, you're less likely to be diagnosed with breast cancer. Diet and nutrition. If you make certain positive changes in your diet, you're less likely to be diagnosed with breast cancer. So there are inroads that are being made that can help prevent and control breast cancer.
It seems just from the outside that the medical community has done a great job and made improvements at the detection and the early.
Absolutely.
But on the cause and the treatment on the end, on the other end, is that are we as far along with, don't want to say a cure, but the treatment of breast cancer?
Certainly with some of the prevention and the way that they can do this genetic testing and begin introducing drugs that would combat, for example, a woman that would have a breast cancer gene and then they begin treating it early. That's where research plays a huge role. And yes, progress is definitely being made in that direction.
Now, is she doing the plunge?
Laura is
She
plunging.
did say, okay, I thought I heard her say that.
She's part of a team of 3. I know Dustin Heckman is on it and Tim Ruzek is
Good, we're
on
getting it
as
on
well.
the record.
Yes.
Now is why I'm, Laura, if you're watching, you're welcome. Glad I did that.
Part of, that's one team. We have many, many teams that are planning on jumping. And again, it's just another event. People are brave enough to do that to help raise funds for the outstanding work that's being done at the Hormel Institute.
So they're jumping into the lake.
They're jumping into Eastside Lake.
And it's if you can go, do they go to your office? Do they buy tickets? How do people get involved with that?
Sure, good question. They go to our website, www.austincvb.com, click on the pink ribbon, and then you'll find all of the registration materials there and the explanation. And there isn't a fee to participate, but we do ask that each member of each team raise $50 on their own. They can either contribute that themselves or get sponsorships. And I know several people, for example, John Wright, if you're listening, KAUS, he has the advantage of promoting it on the air, so he's been raising some good funds as well. And a number of people are really out there raising well over the $50 per person.
Well, Tim, from your shop, there, so
Absolutely.
he walks around and gets contributions,
Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
think also. So they're going to jump into the lake, and then there are some other folks that are doing some pretty unique things.
Yes, and some of the other events going on, like I mentioned, the decorating contest, that will raise awareness. There's no cost for that at all, but we think raising awareness is just as important as raising funds, because next week when they start seeing all of the pink ribbons and the flags all over town, mailboxes, I know my mailbox is decorated at home, when people start seeing pink literally everywhere, they will have to ask, if they don't know what's going on, what is the pink all about? And that gives us a great opportunity to share the message.
You wanted to throw in? We're just about out of time.
Yes, February 6th at Hormel Historic Home, 5:45 will be a breast cancer research seminar given in conjunction with Be Fit, Get Fit, United Way, and Austin YMCA. So they asked to collaborate with us on providing for the public and for the Be Fit, Get Fit teams that we would give an update on breast cancer research. So Dr. Margot Cleary, one of our breast cancer research experts, will be providing that seminar.
Is that a public event?
Yes, it is.
Okay,
And
the
also
date again
for
on that?
that is Wednesday, February 6th at Hormel Historic Home.
At 5:45. 5:45, okay. And Cheryl, one more time, the website address.
Absolutely. www.austincvb.com. Go there, click on the pink ribbon. All events are listed. The forms are there for the registration. Once you get to the area where everything's listed, click again on the Paint the Town Pink logo. All of the events for every single day will pop up for you.
Wonderful. Cheryl Corey and Gail Dennison, thank you very
Thank
much
you,
for
Eric.
your service.
Thanks,
and
Cheryl.
best
Thank
of
you.
luck for this wonderful program. I'm sure it will be great.
Thank you.
We continue right after this with On Cue. Stay with us.
You can watch On Cue anytime by visiting the KSMQ TV website, ksmq.org.
And welcome back to On Cue. Glad you are with us. We're going to talk about policy, political issues in southern Minnesota, southeastern Minnesota primarily, with Tim Penny. He's our guest right now, Southern Minnesota Initiative Foundation.
You bet.
Thank you for joining us.
Good to be with you.
Happy New Year.
Yeah, this is.
For folks that don't know, what is the purpose of your foundation based in Owatonna?
Yeah. Our foundation has been around for 25 years. It was created in the midst of what was then the farm crisis back in the middle 1980s, initially funded by the McKnight Foundation, but they created our foundation to be independent and autonomous. So we have a local board of directors that governs our work. And the idea was to make investments that would strengthen the future of this south central, southeastern corner of our state. And our board of directors over time has made investments in different areas, but our current areas of investment are early childhood, because we believe that's a long-term bet on a quality workforce for our region, and entrepreneurship, because these new businesses are going to be the future of our economy.
And you, as a former member of Congress representing our area, uniquely qualified to kind of see the bigger picture in our region. Do you do much work in Washington for this organization, or is it primarily on a state level?
Yeah, it's primarily on a state level. We are partnered with 5 other foundations that cover the, in total, the 80 rural counties in Minnesota. They all have their own missions, but we do a lot of things jointly. All of us are involved in early childhood. All of us are involved to some degree in small business startups. So we have those sorts of relationships. There are some federal connections, but not many. In our case, we do get some SBA, Small Business Administration dollars, in order to do some of the micro lending, the small business lending that we perform here in the region. And we also, as part of our early childhood work, have a partnership with the AmeriCorps program where we've been assigned 20 slots, and we use all of those personnel to supplement early childhood programming here in southern Minnesota.
So in our region.
So those are the two areas where we do get some federal dollars for our work, but by and large we're a privately funded foundation, and as such, we don't really have to worry too much about what's going on in St. Paul or Washington, D.C.
Nice.
Yeah, it is nice. It's, unlike, perhaps, no, but you're largely funded locally as well.
Yeah.
So.
About early childhood, one of your main focus areas, right here at Riverland Community College, they're about to have broken ground on a very large daycare center.
Yeah.
Primarily education, early childhood education center. Large though, large. Is that the way of the world going forward, that you partner with an educational institution so that the young families can bring their children here?
I think it's great if you can have that connection, and in some communities that works well. In your case, you're doing it here at Riverland, and incidentally, we recognized Riverland College as our partner of the year at our annual luncheon 2 years ago because of the many ways that we have partnered with Riverland over the years, including some partnerships related to early childhood. Other communities do it, such as Blooming Prairie. They've got preschool built right into their K through 12 system, and so they've got preschool facilities and Head Start programming right there at the school facility. So in some communities it does work well, and I think if you can tie it in to an educational institution, especially if you can tie it into the K-12 institution, you're going to do a better job of aligning the education that's going on at the preschool level with what's expected and what's needed by the time these kids get into the regular school system.
Well, I'm new to the nonprofit world. I come from commercial television, and so I'm learning that the partnerships are extremely valuable.
Well, and that's the model for our foundation. I often say that we are more a supplement, a complement to what others are doing in the early childhood area and the entrepreneurial area within our region. And so how we get things done is all based on those partnerships and those relationships.
And has it always been your organization in Owatonna? How did it come to be that it's there?
It came to be in Owatonna because geographically that community is almost the center, the exact center of the 20 county region that we serve. We go as far west as Fairmont and New Ulm, Springfield, as far north as New Prague and Northfield and Red Wing, and then of course all the way over to the river and Winona. So this south central southeastern region is conveniently served by that Owatonna location. On any given day, I and others on our staff are out in the various communities in this region working with community leaders on either early childhood or entrepreneurial activities, and long ago, our board of directors determined that Owatonna was the place to anchor our foundation, and we have our office there.
And I know you didn't have a lot of federal interaction, you stated earlier, but your AmeriCorps partnership, how does that work, and what does that look like in our region?
Yeah, well, we have 20 slots. I wish we had more, and we have, I think, 4 of those slots that are part-time, so that's actually 22 people that we then place in early childhood sites. In most instances, we're looking to place them in facilities that have a higher population of lower income or disadvantaged families. And so that means that a lot of our sites are Head Start facilities, which are available to lower income households. We have an AmeriCorps slot here in town, and we are currently in a 3-year partnership with the AmeriCorps program, and for these 3 years we pledged that we would do 2 things, that we would focus on the social and emotional needs of these kids. Lots of kindergarten teachers will tell you that in addition to reading and math and some of these other skills, they really need kids to be socially and emotionally ready to be in a classroom and to be in that learning environment. And so we focus on that. It's managing your emotions and learning how to work well with others, share, take turns, those sorts of things. So we focus on that, and we also pledged that we would try to keep our personnel in the same sites for 3 years so that we could have more of a measurement of success as we're working with students 2 and 3 years before they get into the kindergarten system. And so that's what we're engaged in now, and we hope a year from now, when our current 3-year contract runs out, that we can renew with AmeriCorps for at least another 3 years, and we're going to ask them for more than the 20 slots that they've currently provided us, and we hope for successful in getting those additional slots.
So are they people in the classroom?
Yeah,
or in
they are. You might as well refer to them as a teacher aide.
Okay.
And we assign them to a particular site, and then the manager at that site, the teacher at that site, works hand in glove with this individual to share the teaching responsibilities.
So how do you measure outcomes with something like that? You know,
well, we have a checklist of all the social and emotional skills that are needed to succeed, not only in the classroom, but in life. And we do a baseline assessment of where the kids are at the start of the year, and then we do throughout the year an assessment and follow that same checklist to see what kind of progress each child is making on those social and emotional skills. We also are involved in some reading programs with these kids, and there's some measurements of success there. But I think for the most part with the AmeriCorps program, we're really trying to provide extra staffing to focus on those kids that have those social and emotional needs. And then we do have, as I said a moment ago, a measure of success that we're seeking in those areas.
Well, Tim Penny, it's always a pleasure. Thank you very much for coming in.
Always good to visit.
Tim Penny, Southern Minnesota Initiative Foundation, and we will be back with our weekly Vision 2020 update right after this.
Queue up your own comments for On Cue and send them to us at onq@ksmq.org. On Cue's Vision 2020 segment is brought to you by Hormel Foundation, Games People Play, and Turtle Creek Estates.
And welcome back to On Cue. I'm Eric Olson. Time now for our Vision 2020 segment. This week we're going to talk about community-wide technology. Mark Nibaur joins us now from Austin Utilities. Committee member, committee chair.
Co-chair.
Co-chair, thanks for being here. Community-wide technology. At my house in Austin, I already have internet service, so help me understand what you're talking about.
Well, it's a process of looking at what Austin has now and looking to the future, and that's the key for the community-wide technology, and not necessarily all homes or businesses are equal at this particular time. So the process we'll be looking at as a committee, and we're a small committee, but looking at the technology, we call it kind of the superhighway. What does our customers, business or residential, want today and in the future for internet speed and capacity, and how are we going to look, in the future? So that's kind of the mission of the committee, is looking out there and determining what our customers may, or our community may want, and how we get there.
And this is much more important than what I would think of just so my kids can watch videos faster or something like that. That's not very fair to our young people in Austin, but I'll just throw that out there. There's a business component and a competitiveness component to this discussion.
Oh, sure it is. From the standpoint of other companies that are providing services, obviously where this committee may go, and eventually the speeds and how to market it, how to build that infrastructure, will be dependent on a number of potential partners and businesses that are already in the community now, or could be in the future. And you're right, from the standpoint of what our customers will want, if it's video streaming, music, movies, what all that might be and what that looks like in the next 5 to 10 years, we got to start planning and thinking about and creating that super highway, as we call it. Obviously the community picked this project as one of the top 10, so it's very important for the community to be at that cutting edge of technology, and this committee is looking at that.
You've got a Google prototype.
Yes.
Was it Kansas City?
Kansas City.
Okay, talk about that for a minute.
Yeah, exactly. It's the Google project, and I think many community members maybe remember the process that Google was looking for the community to build this super highway. Kansas City basically was finally selected by Google. So we got a model to look at and see how they're rolling that out, seeing their model. And obviously if there's things that we could be looking at out in the industry, we should be looking at that, and we're looking at Google. There's other communities that are looking at rolling out infrastructure and internet and superhighways in their communities. So there are some models to look for, and we are looking at that. So there's some communities not very far. Cedar Falls, Iowa has a what we call a high-speed internet, fiber optics to every home business. So they're not too far away. We've talked to them in some conference calls, so the committee's been working with them. They've been very open to sharing information. So there's information out there. That's kind of the process the committee is in right now, is looking at what's out there and slowly putting our model together. You know, ultimately it's going to have to be that partnership, we think, between the public and the private to make this I guess, goal successful.
And to pay for it.
And to pay for it.
That's huge.
You know, that gets right down to the bottom line is dollars and how we're going to pay for this, because it is an expensive endeavor, and that's why everybody was going after Google and working with Google and trying to get them in their town, because it is an expensive endeavor. So, you know, the business model, the ownership, how it's built, how it operates, how it gets paid for, grants that might be out there. I mean, that's another piece that we'll be looking at as well.
Well, it's wonderful to have someone with your skills here to help guide this process, Mark, and thank you for your service.
Oh, well, I appreciate it. It's been fun. I'm excited to see what it looks like in another couple of years, or sooner.
Mark Nibaur, Vision 2020. That's all we have time for this week. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time on Q, right here on KSMQ TV.
On Cue is a production of KSMQ Television in Austin, nonprofit public television.